The Illini do the right thing. They've announced that they're going to retire Terrence Shannon Jr.'s jersey number. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another Friday edition. Is it Friday already? Edition of Locked On Illini. My name is Sunny Verma. You can find me at IlliniCast, at the Sunny V. Regardless of where you find me, I'm very appreciative that you make us your first listen every single day. Simple reminder, you can find us, on all your favorite audio platforms or right here on YouTube, on all the social medias. Do a search for Locked On Illini. Send me a message. Say hello. It's me responding. So it's a nice way for you to communicate. Tell me what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. Before I get started, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. It's Friday. There's a lot of things I could talk about, and the reason this episode's coming up so late is because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about. There's plenty on the checklist. Of course, Illinois has its bragging rights game on Sunday. There's stuff going on the football side, probably not as much action as a lot of us Illini fans want, but things are happening, and whispers, are being whispered, but honestly, it's Friday. For me, I want to start the weekend off feeling right. And so for me personally, I wanted to talk about the Terrence Shannon Jr. news that was released, I believe it was on Thursday, that the Illini are going to raise his jersey up into the rafters, I believe Saturday, February 15th against Michigan State, the Spartans. Now, again, for me, this is very important because Illinois could have taken a very different route with how they handled this Terrence Shannon Jr. situation, and a route that, not to sound political in any sort of way, but, it would have appeased a lot of vocal people and just kind of kept Terrence at bay and, maybe have him circle back 2-3 seasons from now and, raised his jersey number then. But obviously they decided not to do that. Now, let's just say for the few of you who might have just become Illini fans this year who don't know anything about Terrence Shannon Jr. He played a couple seasons here at Illinois. Last season, he set the Illinois record for points in a season with 736 points. And keep in mind, he missed 6 games last year due to I'm just going to stay out of it due to an accusation which ultimately came untrue, at least according to the courts. Again, that's going to be me not playing the political game in any sort of way at all. Terrence is a kid who I can't say enough about. And I'll be honest, I'm very emotional about this decision because as someone who got to witness in arenas the type of treatment that this kid got, and the fact that he continued to stay so incredibly strong and didn't really let it affect his game. Again, I just talked about in his senior year, he set an Illinois record for points in the Big Ten tournament. I believe I got to find the stat. He led the Big Ten tournament in scoring average. And I believe he was close to doing it in points as well, total points as well. This was a kid who, and it's not just me. It's not just me sitting here saying, I'm proud of what Terrence was able to do. There was a story a couple days ago when Brad Underwood showed up on the field of 68, which I wanted to reference, but I never really got around to it, where, the folks asked him about Terrence. And I'm just going to read the tweet verbatim. Brad said, "I got angry sometimes at the things people were saying. It entailed every emotion for me. Honestly, he handled it better than I did. He helped me. It's the biggest thing I'll remember about TSJ." Now, this is a very difficult gig I have, right? most of you guys know, is in particular my everydayers know, like I'm a fan first. I've been a fan of the Illini for 30 plus, 35 plus years. But with this job becomes a different obligation to be an analyst of some sort, right? I have to show some sort of objectivity when it comes to covering the team. I can't just go full fan on because that's not fair to you guys. Um, you wouldn't be getting the proper coverage on this team if everything I said was pro Illinois, pro this or that. But I'll be honest, if I took my analyst hat off for a second and put my fan hat on, the experiences that TSJ went through last year has made me dislike certain fan bases and certain teams a little bit more than I did prior to me witnessing some of the stuff that he went through. It's why some certain rivalry games matter more to me. I know college kids are going to be college kids and they're just going to say things because they don't necessarily know any better. I was in college, okay? Who knows? I would have probably done something very similar in that case. I mean, I'll be honest, not even when I was a college kid. A year ago, 2 years ago, if I would have read a headline, there's a very good chance that I may have made up my mind about an individual. And, without really getting into details. And, even before I had this Locked On show, I have another show called Illini Cast. You can see right there. So please subscribe to me on that one as well on YouTube. But a lot of it for me, it was like, again, how do I say this? You root for a kid to play well, right? And seeing people come into my mentions, into every chat, every live show. I'm doing a live show right now, by the way. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts about this. And make sure you hit the like button if you're as happy as I am about this Terrence Shannon Jr. news. Please do. But so anytime me from my own Twitter account would tweet anything about Terrence Shannon Jr., who of course was a big part of last year's basketball team, my mentions would just blow up with some things which, I guess it just comes with the platform of what X and Twitter kind of has become. But just some of the most awful things that you could ever think about saying about a kid were being said about Terrence. And so, as the details slowly started coming out and people who actually had the conviction to, just at least read up a little bit and saw the details and kind of understood what might be happening. For anyone who went that far to see the other side and see the attacks, I don't know Terrence Shannon Jr. I've never met the kid. I know plenty who do, and they've all told me nothing but amazing things about him. We all know about him shooting jumpers at 4 or 5 in the morning and all that kind of fun stuff. Like, that's just who he is. But he's a Chicago kid, comes from a good family, and him having to deal with some of the stuff that he had to deal with, and then still handling it the way he did. I mean, if Zach Edey wasn't around, Terrence would have been the Big Ten Player of the Year. If that incident didn't happen, and if he didn't have to miss 6 games, and writers being afraid for what the consequences would have been, he would have been on the first team All-American team. He was at worst a top 3 basketball player in the country last year. Some might say, some meaning me, top 2. And that's with more pressure than someone like you or I will probably ever have to deal with in our lives. Now, granted, this is a different type of pressure. I'm not trying to, you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, obviously, there's a different kind of pressure. This is sports pressure, but this is not sports pressure, right? Off the court, it wasn't sports pressure. Like, off the court, he was wondering whether he was going to be a free man for his 20s, his 30s. I wasn't sure how Josh Whitman was going to handle this whole situation. Obviously, by not finishing as an All-American, he wasn't going to automatically get his jersey retired, which I think And tell me if you disagree in the comments or, wherever, find me on social media. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I think there's no doubt the impact that Terrence had on this basketball team. I mean, he's the guy, right, who was the best player on the team that finally got to the Elite Eight last year. He helped Brad Underwood get over that hump that, has lingered for years at this point. He got the monkey off the back. But he didn't make the All-American team for other reasons. And so once that didn't happen, I credit Josh Whitman, who I continue to say is the best AD in the entire country, and I wouldn't trade him for anybody. I appreciate each and every single day that he is the athletic director here. Whitman did say this. Obviously, Shannon doesn't meet the objective criteria that we have outlined for consideration for the Jersey program. But I think we all recognize that without question that he was one of the top 10 players in America this year. Probably one of the top 2 or 3 players in America. He had one of the greatest single seasons in the history of Illinois basketball. Arguably, the greatest season in the history of Illinois basketball. We all understand now that there were factors beyond his control that prevented those votes from being where they needed to be in order for him to satisfy the criteria. And we're happy to make an exception in this case, to recognize one of the great players that this program has ever seen. Certainly, I think that's very appropriate, and I look forward to welcoming him back to an appropriate time to celebrate him in front of our 15,500 fans and to elevate that jersey into the rafters. I can't say enough about the way that young man handled this season. I have been around sports my entire life. I don't remember another demonstration of commitment and focus that rivals what Terrence was able to do night in and night out over the course of the second half of the basketball season. For someone who, at his age of 23, to be able to go into those arenas, to be able to face those crowds, and to be able to do what he did each and every night on the court was just something to behold. Now, certainly through the lens of history, I think it will just continue to grow in its status over time. Hit it out of the park, right? Josh, the fact that he didn't really wait, he released this statement in June. It made all of us happy because, once you're in Illini, you're in Illini. We have a family, we have a community. There's a reason, I think it was Jeff Goodman earlier on Friday released a tweet talking about the most, I don't know what the phrasing was, most annoying fan bases, the craziest fan bases or something like that. But Illinois was literally number 2. And the reason they come in at number 2 is, and I believe it, I am an Illinois content creator. And I'm telling you, the shade I get, the passion I get when I say something negative, or sometimes I'm a little too positive. It's because it's like we're a family. And Terrence was a big part of that family. And when we see family members go through what he did last year, and it's not just sports, this was life. To see him ultimately, prevail, maybe that's the right word, and be able to go on, live on his dream to play in the NBA, it gets emotional for all of us. And, Josh, as I said earlier, could have waited, could have decided, again, 2-3 years from now, 5-year anniversary of the Elite Eight team. Maybe this is the time to bring Terrence back in. He didn't. February 15th, I believe it was, Michigan State. Yeah. Saturday, February 15th, Michigan State. I'm going to do my best to be there. State Farm Center. I hope everyone who's capable of being there is there. Because this is one thing I talked about this week, that Illinois does certain things wrong, whether it's the academic side, sometimes the athletic side. But this is certainly just one of those things that Illinois did correctly. And today, I'm proud to be an Illini. All right. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features in this is a subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing out about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon.rocketmoney. All right. How many of you guys are going to the Citrus Bowl next week? I believe it's on the 29th. I'm still waiting to hear if I'm able to go. It doesn't look very promising, but if I'm looking for tickets, I'm obviously going to be using the Game Time app. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. It has all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and it comes with the lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. All right. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, let's get the game preview out of the way. Missouri, I don't know about you guys, but like Missouri's just it's a program where, to me, it's one of the true senses of rivalries when it comes to the Illini. Not only have we played for 30, 40 plus, or even more than that years in a row, it's one of those rivalries where it doesn't really matter one way or the other when one team is, good and one team is bad. It's a streaky rivalry, where Illinois and Missouri kind of take years at a time to dominate this the rivalry on each side. But this year, both teams look like they're pretty solid, right? Illinois comes in at 7-3. Missouri comes in at 10-1. I looked at their schedule. I'm not sure they're a 10-1 basketball team, but regardless, they did not just beat, but they beat down the number one team in the country a couple weeks back. So this should be one of the better games on the schedule this weekend, which is full of really, really good basketball games. And let's be honest, like in the SEC has been dominating this year. So even if this wasn't a rivalry game, this is something that, Illinois would have to not look past, because Missouri, again, 10-1, I don't know if they're ranked or not. I forgot to check that, but I'll be honest, 10-1, they're a good basketball team, but Illinois should beat them. Again, they haven't played much. Their defensive metrics I saw we're at 102. And it's, for me, there's two factors that we may or may not come out victorious. Is one, they're a really good turnover forcing basketball team. And if there's one issue that Kasparis has this year, is turning over the basketball. I think Illinois is capable of having the three best players on the court on Sunday. But if somehow the game script turns out that Missouri wins this game, it's because Kasparis, again, has another game like he had against who did we just last play? Oh, sorry, Friday. My brain's slipping my mind at this point. But Tennessee, of course, Tennessee, the number one team in the country, where he had 7 turnovers. Kasparis needs to take care of the ball. I think if Kasparis takes care of the ball, we are just way too talented. This is not a very good defensive team. Again, somewhere in the 100 plus when it comes to that Missouri defense. They don't play defense very well. What they do very well is something we guard against very well. And that's they are very good at shooting 2-pointers. Illinois had this far this season has been proven to be a very good defensive 2-point team. Now I'm very curious, and the matchup to watch is going to be Mark Mitchell. Mark's averaging 13.5 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 6'9", 230 pounds. So that's kind of, I'm very curious to see myself, who is Brad going to have guard Mark? Is he going to go the Hummerkaus route and be like, all right, Mark, get your points, but you're going to work for it, and we're not going to let anyone else beat us? Because he's talented. But I don't know, again, there's other guys who we know through other rivalries, right? Tony Perkins, Tamar Bates is a talented basketball player. But none of these names worry me. Like, if we had a draft of the most talented players between these two teams, I would say Illinois would probably have the first 5 or 6 guys. But it's a rivalry game. And so that doesn't factor in. Illinois should win this game by double digits. I don't think the spread has come out. If the spread has come out, please let me know. It has not come out. KenPom has us up winning by 6, I believe. It was like 81-76. Illinois can't lose this game. Okay, if they lose this game, they're going to be 7-4, and then for the first time, I feel like they're going to feel like we're behind schedule. I've been saying for the past couple of weeks that I feel like this Illinois team is ahead of schedule for where I predicted them to be, with a completely turned over roster and the new guys, playing with each other. But from what I've seen of Missouri, again, 10-1 is impressive, but this is not a 10-1 basketball team. Illinois should be able to beat. If Illinois can lose at the last second to a team like Tennessee, the number 1 team in the country, I don't think Missouri should be able to keep up. Kasparis, he just needs to take care of the ball. And again, this is going to be my mantra over the next couple games, the next few games. Who is going to be the Marcus Damask to Kasparis' Terrence Shannon Jr.? Right now, I still don't know. I want to think it's Tommy Avicic. He's struggled, at least in the last couple of games, once Big Ten season has started, once, there's been other big men that he's had to deal with. He hasn't been the same player that he was at the beginning of the season. Will Riley is the key here. I'm still waiting on Will, and I think he's going to figure it out. Brad Underwood said it himself, when someone asked him about Will Riley's struggles, and he said, like, hey, when you play nobodies, that's the false confidence that you can get. But he trusts Will. So just keep shooting. And I agree. We need Will Riley to be able to score 12 to 17 points a game for this team to win the Big Ten championship, which I think they're capable of doing. Is this the game that Ben Hummerkaus finally snaps out of this little funk that he's in? I'm going to be watching him. The body language is going to matter, especially if Mark Mitchell is going to put him going to be going up against Ben. Last year, we saw a lot of Coleman Hawkins, body language, knowing he was going up against an offensive player way bigger, way stronger than him. And sometimes you could see it in the body language, like just kind of, I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. I haven't seen that from Ben yet. But, confidence matters just because he's shooting so poorly. So poorly. And again, the shooting doesn't bother me as much as his lack of rebounding for a guy who's 6'9". Ball should accidentally fall in your direction and in your hand. And it's just not happening. And, at some point, I've been okay with what Brad has been doing with Ben, saying, I get it. I think he ultimately thinks that in order for this offense to reach its peak potential, he needs a space a guy who can shoot threes, who the defense has to worry about so that they don't ultimately always just collapse on Kasparis. But how long can you wait? I'm really hoping that this rivalry game against Missouri is something that can just snap him out of it. Because again, the Big Ten season is right around the corner, and once we're 3, 4, 5 games in, we can't just sit around and wait for Ben anymore. And then if that's not working, are we ready to go the Jake Davis route? Is that really the guy we want to count on right now this season to be our 3-point guy? He's shown just as little as Ben has. But I honestly think, and I talked about this in my post game, I think that's the reason Brad is playing him. I think Jake Davis is getting minutes because he's the backup plan, because Brad understands that for this offense to work, it needs a guy to space the floor. And if Ben's not it, is it going to have to be Jake Davis? Let me know your thoughts. I want to hear your predictions for the game. Do you think we are able to pull it off? Do you think comfortably? Do you think it's going to be within the 5 points, 6 points that Ken Pom thinks? I'm very curious to your thoughts. It's that time of the year. The college football playoff is back. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our first matchup, the SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of this action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. By the way, I have a fun Friday question for you guys. There's a chance I might be attending the game, Clemson against Texas, or at the very least, I might be tailgating with some of the locals around here. Now, a couple of my buddies are obviously diehard Longhorns fans down here in Austin, where I recently moved, and they've given me a hoodie, a Longhorns hoodie. Am I allowed to wear that tailgating, or is that blasphemy? I'm very curious. I don't really have an allegiance, but it's a nice looking hoodie, and the scene may account for it. I haven't decided whether I'm going to wear that or not. But anyways, I'm just curious what your guys' opinions are on whether I'm allowed to wear Longhorns gear at the stadium. Thomas says, I love TJS. We all do. Jason says, TSJ, sir deserves this. I've said this from day one. It was TSJ against the world, and he proved everyone wrong. Not just TSJ. It was TSJ and Illini Nation, against the world. And Jason, I appreciate you. I appreciate Jason's one of my members who I talk to almost every single day. So, I appreciate you joining me on this Friday. Philip says, Goodman's 10 craziest fan base. I knew it was something like that. And it's right. I can confirm. I'm pro Illini. I literally have my own Illini show. And I get attacked constantly, whether it's in the post games or on social medias. One day maybe I'll release the kind of DMs I get from people who think I'm not either I'm too positive about the Illini, or that I'm not positive enough. Tamara Bates had a career game, 29 points to beat a struggling Kansas team. I'm trying to figure out this Kansas team. Are they obviously beating number one team in the country is impressive, but I just don't know if they're the number one team in the country. Philip, absolutely great point, and something I'm going to be addressing probably on Monday's episode. JUCO years not counting against NCAA eligible rules is interesting. A little teaser into Monday's episode. Now, obviously, this only this particular case only applied to the Vanderbilt quarterback. But if other college football players decide to take advantage of this rule, Illinois' secondary next year has the potential to be one of the top 10 in the country. And I mean that. And I'll talk about why on Monday's episode. Philip says, Illinois 90, Missouri 68. Oh, I would love that. There are a lot of student sections that owe TSJ an apology. There's a lot of student sections. There's a lot of media members who I do kind of appreciate, Illini Nation. They remind them almost every single time they tweet, like, hey, by the way, you still owe TSJ an apology. Will he ever get them? Probably not. But that's just kind of, unfortunately, the way the world works today. Reminder, guys, the game Sunday, Missouri, Illinois, I believe is at noon. I will be here immediately after the game. Post game, I do that every single day. During the holidays, I still plan on releasing an episode for you every single day during the holidays. So if there's an idea that you want me to address, if there's a story you want me to talk about, please let me know. I'm here for you guys. I don't necessarily have to, but I want to, the continued support that you guys always show. Please, again, if you haven't already, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. I think the number's up to 68% of the people that are watching this show every single day aren't subscribed. Just remember, guys, it costs you guys nothing, but it helps me so incredibly much. I'm really trying to hit that 2,000 subscriber goal. But regardless, I'll see you guys Sunday then, immediately after the game. Hopefully we get to celebrate and get to have the holiday week kickstarted a little bit early. But regardless, until next time, ILL. Love you guys.